Back in 2013, one of my friends told me to check out this game. It's called Osu. I'm Asian, I'm gonna be good at it. So I just thought, hey, I'll give it a shot. And I played it for a day and then didn't touch it for another 2 months. But then I actually started regularly playing in April 2013 when I got my own laptop. The aspect I enjoy the most about Osu is that you're really able to specialize in what you enjoy, and that it's a very free of RNG game. Usually in other competitive games, there's like a little bit of RNG involved always to make the game to recycle the playability of the game. But since there's so many beat maps in Osu, there's just so little RNG. Of course, you can view stuff like mental state or general health as RNG, but I don't really view that as RNG heavy as other factors in other video games. The skill I care the most about is probably finger control. Being able to keep your left hand calm while aiming gives you a big advantage while aiming. Being able to keep the left hand calm helps you focus more on the aim. So finger control is probably the most important skill, because when I have poor finger control, I notice that my aim suffers a lot from it rather than my accuracy. My accuracy also suffers, but my aim suffers the most when my finger control is poor. This is also the reason I'm not as good in at high BPM, at BPMs like 260 BPM, at 270 BPM, despite the fact that I can tap them from the speed aspect. But because I don't have the finger control, my aim also just suffers a lot. That's why, unless I'm really in the DT zone, unless I really played a lot of double time on high AR, and I don't need to focus a lot on my finger control, I'm incapable of really playing these high BPM tapping maps, these high BPM jump maps, all the farmy stuff like I don't know, the Achuma Seishun double time and stuff like that. So the biggest change that I probably saw was the implementation of PPV2, or the formerly known TP. So because the first PP system was really not an accurate system, it really did not measure the skill of people, it rather measured how many high ranks you have on maps. Back then, people really tried to achieve high ranks on the leaderboards of beat maps, which was really cool to see. So people really developed themselves by achieving high ranks on specific maps. So people like the Lua became very well respected because of his incredible accuracy and finger control. People like Raruchi became really well respected because of his insane unique scores, playing double time on hard rock maps, playing hard rock on maps that people can't even pass with no mod, stuff like that. But really, these days people just go for the PP rather than for the high ranks on the leaderboards, which was pretty cool to see back then. But then again, back then it didn't quite work. There was no real measurement of skills, so if there were good players like GeForce back in 2013, people wouldn't see it because he would just play unranked maps, place low on the leaderboards, occasionally get a solitary hard rock score on hard maps, but players like him were just really underrated back then. When I played back in 2015 or 2016, I believe, I've noticed that, hard rock gives a lot of PP. I'll play hard rock. So I just applied hidden hard rock to like all the maps I could play, and if I couldn't pass the map, I would just play like a different map. I would just try to get like A ranks on maps with hidden hard rock. So I just played a bunch of hidden hard rock until I got used to it, and eventually I would just start memorizing PP maps. Back in the day, my top ranks were full of like 95%, 96% 380 PP scores on maps that usually give like 450 PP for 99%. And my top ranks were just full of maps where I just memorized the patterns, but my accuracy wasn't so well. And eventually I just got used to the approach rate. Funnily enough, because I only played Hidden Hard Rock, my Hard Rock reading was worse than my Hidden Hard Rock reading, and I fixed that sometime around 2017 by just playing a lot of Hard Rock only. And tournaments. Tournaments really helped fixing my Hard Rock only accuracy. I mainly use Twitter to interact with the community. I think Twitter is a great tool to really get in touch with what's currently going on. I occasionally check Reddit. I don't check it as frequently as I used to. And I think really Twitter and Reddit are pretty much the best tools to find out what's going on in the community. Because when people write me in-game, I'm very quick to ignore them because usually when I'm in-game I want to focus on playing. So oftentimes people will find me very unfriendly because I just ignore them pretty quickly. I don't think the OS community is too different from other gaming communities, as in the majority of the players like to act in very cynical manners. They like to have unsophisticated opinions, and it's not considered very healthy for the game a lot of times. But there are a lot of shining paragons, and that's what I like to call them. People such as players like Toy that just try to keep everything together, while there are people with more sophisticated opinions, such as maybe Verdo, who try to lead people to the right track. And since the OSA community is a lot smaller than other gaming communities, I actually don't think it's any worse than other gaming communities. In fact, I think it's a lot better than communities such as League of Legends or Overwatch, where the leading voices and the people who try to keep everything together have less impact since the community is so much bigger. And I really wish the majority of the community would maybe put in a little more effort into developing their opinions on matters like PP, on matters like cheaters, top players, etc. But that's honestly a lot to ask for, since people aren't very willing to put an effort to have civilized discussions. When it comes to the community I'm part of, I think I mostly surround myself with people who I think are pretty chill. People who don't try to have too much of an opinion on stuff, but are able to develop a sophisticated opinion if they wish to do so. So, the community I am part of is honestly pretty far away from like the actual game, pretty far away from like the actual OS game. People, I mainly, the people I met through OSU really I don't talk with them about OSU as much as I do about other matters. So I really think those are the people I surround myself with are great people, great friends. Tournaments were probably the single biggest motivation point of mine. I remember watching OWC 2013 and just being so impressed by the Austrian OWC team, especially by OMG Force, this unknown rank 500 guy who just absolutely destroyed all these high-ranked people, all these well-known players. And I just thought to myself, wow, that's so cool, I want to become a tournament player. And I really haven't, and I've been really slacking off, honestly. I've tried to despite the fact that tournaments did motivate me the most in this game, and that I already did play a lot of tournament games, I've been slacking off a lot. I've often just tried to focus on my own gameplay rather than focusing on becoming a good tournament player, which is probably the reason I have not been able to really develop myself to become considered one of the best tournament players, such as apraxia, such as Toy, such as Wobbleful, Bubble Man, and my tournament experiences were honestly very... I thought tournaments were just so cool every time I played in them. And so far, I don't think tournaments have really shaped me as a player. I don't think, like, if there were... I don't think participating in tournaments really changed me as a player, but I think having these tournaments as like my goal did shape me as a player. Actually playing in tournaments did not do a lot for me, but having tournaments as a goal did do a lot for me. I think I consider myself a lot more flexible than most other players, honestly, and not more flexible than the best tournament players, of course, but still a considerable amount more flexible, more versatile than other tournament players. And I don't think and even though I don't have a badge yet, I don't think I'll give up on tournaments. Tournaments are really the thing that kept me playing. Realistically speaking, I spend a lot of time on this game, and you know, I could consider Osu as the reason that made me a very solitary person, that made me that caused me to stay inside all the time just so I can click the circles. But realistically speaking, if it wasn't Osu, I think I would have just played League of Legends. Before I played Osu, I actually played a lot of League of Legends, and if I hadn't found Osu, I would have probably just continued playing League of Legends, or any other competitive game for that matter. Well, I probably would have tried playing Hearthstone. I probably would have switched over to Overwatch, but you know, since I have the since Osu is still the most enjoyable game, I think it didn't really change my life too much. Oh, I've made a lot of friends playing this game. I've not only top players, but a lot of I've not only made friends with like other top players, but I've also met a lot of people through other friends. And honestly, when I surrounded myself with people who played the game actively, I saw myself getting a lot more motivated to play the game. I think surrounding yourself with people who are very motivated to become good players kind of has an effect on you. It has a positive effect on you. I've seen myself regaining my motivation because a few months ago I met Panorari, and Panorari is this up and coming player whose aim is just astounding for his rank, and I just see him improving, and this really just, it motivated me so much these past few months. And I remember having the same with Blue Flame back in 2016, having the same feeling with about Silver back in 2016, having the same feeling with players like today known as Lily back in 2015, back in 2016. And I think surrounding yourself with players who try to become good, and when you have that will to become good yourself, it really has an effect on you, and it can really motivate you. I think Osu doesn't really have a lot to do with real life, but if there was one comparison I could make, it would be this factor of self-awareness. I think Osu has made me very self-aware, not only about my mental state, not only about my physical state, but also for other video games. I've noticed that I've become a lot more self-aware. I can view myself from like a different standpoint, from where I don't have to, if I'm not struggling with learning the game controls, I can focus on improving very specific things. I can focus on improving like my mechanics. I know how to differentiate between decision making and mechanics and stuff like that. So if there was one comparison, it would really be this factor of self awareness that OCS taught me.